It's now my pleasure to introduce Michael Elliott, the chair of CII. First, I'd like to say that during the planning for this conference, Michael has become a good friend and mentor to me, and I appreciate that with him helping me along the way. Michael has been an author, project manager, and program manager in all aspects of the construction industry as far as projects from business case development through startup. He's spent a good deal of his career at Phillips 66 in its many iterations of names, so you can read his bio on the website because they've changed their names a few times along the way. And he's worked on some very large overseas projects for them. I'm happy to say that Michael graduated from a local high school here in Vienna, Virginia, and that he has 2 grown children in the area, so I look forward to seeing him come back to the area personally, and I'd like you please to invite Michael up to the stage.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go off script, and people that know me know that that's just normal for me. And first of all, I'd like to tell Anne-Marie what a great job she's done in the different things that we've been looking through. Taking on the chair of our annual conference can be a real challenge, because what you've done is you've volunteered that you're going to host, you're going to be involved in things, you're going to travel to remote locations, and you're still going to try to hold your job down at the same time. So it's absolutely amazing how that goes. Yesterday, I had the privilege of speaking to our new members. And as I did that, I highlighted to them that the guys at CII that now know me said that they've timed me in overtime. It only takes me a half hour to cover a slide, and so they let me have no slides yesterday. Today, however, I've got 2, and it's 2 that I want to touch on, and I will try to stay within the time window. But there are 2 that I'm really excited about. And one is where we just had the breakout sessions here in the large auditorium that had to do with our knowledge base. CII is all about sharing the best practices and making the construction industry of this nation and the world the very best it can be. And I found it interesting as people would ask questions. So as we went through then the knowledge base, can I share it with others? And the answer is absolutely yes. We want to make the construction industry safer. We want to make it more predictable. We simply want to make it better. And anybody or anyone that we can share that with makes our lives more fulfilling. And that's what this institute is all about. Now, that doesn't mean if you're not a member, you don't have to pay for some of it along the way, because we do have to break even as an activity, but it's transformational what we've done. And let me share with you my drive. As I came in, and I'm only going to talk briefly about 2 of my goals, and one of them is up here on the screen. As I set that goal, and as we were talking about it a couple of years in the past, I emphasized my point that we've got 30 years plus of massive amount of wealth and information that we put into this, and a lot of people were struggling with how to get it out. As I would talk to different members, they would talk about, oh yes, in our company, if we need to know something about CI, we go to so-and-so because they've learned the magic codes and methodologies. Well, that's not the world we live in. And so as I came on board, and Stephen and I would have some discussions a few years ago, and he was nice enough down in my office as we were doing that, we talked about, well, how can we get that on something that's as easy as your cell phone? This is where we wanted it to go. And to the credit of the team that was sitting on this stage a few moments ago, especially under the leadership of Tim Allen and Stephen, as he's now taken over the reins of CII, they have done that. And I was so enthused about it as we were doing it. I said, if we have to, let's stop all research for 1 year, if that's what it takes. And they said, no, it won't be that big of a distraction, but we might lower 1 or 2 of the research down. And they pulled it off. And so if you didn't come to the implementation, please stop by out back, learn how to do it. And if you can't handle it then, go home and have your 4th grader do it for you. That's what I do, call it the grandkids. We've got it at that type of use. Now I'm going to also share with you, Stephen and I have another mantra. and which is Stephen is all about taking CII and making it useful to the businesses of the world. So what I'm going to tell people when I visit companies, I don't want there to be one person at their company that understands how to get our tools and our practices, nor do I want it to be a secret within the projects arena at those companies. I want the business guys, I want the CEOs, I want anybody to say, hey, if we want to do something better, if we want to use our capital better, they're going to get on there, they're going to look it up, and hopefully, then they're going to be looking at us project people in the eye and say, assuredly, you're doing this because this is the results that I expect. The other one that I wanted to talk about briefly that tied in really great as Stephen came on board was expansion into other sectors. Though CII has been open for years to all of the entities, the reality is oil and gas played a really major part. And maybe so dominated some of the other players. As we've now expanded to these other sectors, we hope those that are joining us from other groups today are feeling welcomed and comfortable. And so for some of us that do come from the oil and gas, if we use a lingo that's not yours and you're not familiar with it, by all means, look at us and ask some questions. One of the large groups that has joined us over the last couple of years has been the government sector. And we're thrilled with that. As a taxpayer, I would love to have my taxes be more efficiently used to deliver the products and infrastructure that we need. And since they were all shovel ready 8 years ago, I'm sure shortly we're going to see them happen. And that we will all benefit from that. And so what I'm hoping is that as we bring in other sectors that we'll be able to take some of these great tools. One of them which is, for example, we took PDRI already and said, okay, it was created for mega projects. Now how do we use that for small projects? And the first group that volunteered was the oil and gas. Then the next sector started saying, wait a minute, we could use that over here in our manufacturing, and we hope to see more opportunities for expansion as different companies come and join with our group. If you haven't been around CII long, I shared with everybody at the orientation yesterday, by all means ask tons and tons of questions, because that's the way we grow and that's the way we benefit. As I was sitting through the knowledge base, one of the things that triggered in my mind is, unlike some companies that farm out ask a question and it goes to some other part of the world and it may never happen, it doesn't happen at CII. Those questions all go into Stephen's organization, and I've never hit that I haven't got an answer back in a very short time period.